We are 6 women.
We are wordsmiths.
We are magic.
We are curious.
We are contradictions.
We are wanderers.
We are people of many names.
We are mind trekkers and story weavers.
We are adventurous spirits.
We continue to grow.
We've been baptized in the font of dream and memory.
We are partly truth and partly fiction.
I am Gail.
I am Joanne.
I am Margie.
I am Katie.
I am Marion.
I am Mary.
We are the Mystic Order of East Alabama Fiction Writers.
Welcome to the very first Mystic podcast of 2023. It's the Miraculous podcast.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The first one we're recording in 2023.
Oh, I gotcha.
Gail was giving me the fingers.
Yes.
Not those fingers. She was saying this is the second, but it's not. It's the first
second
recording.
I'm sorry.
Maybe
It's the second of the season.
Okay.
I won't do that again.
Okay,
No fingers
that's
for me.
No, don't give me the fingers, please.
I won't.
You can give me the eye.
Okay.
As you can see, we're still getting reorganized. So welcome to our podcast, whichever one this is. This is a miraculous podcast, though, because there are 5 mystics here. Is that correct number, Matt?
Yes.
I'm not holding up my 5 fingers.
And we're only missing one who's just on extended vacation. But let's go around and reintroduce ourselves in case people are new or they've forgotten who we are. Joanne.
I'm Mystic Joanne. I am known as the Mystic Defender, although I am a retired Mystic Defender.
Oh, well, that'll be fun for you.
I am Mystic Mary, and I don't know what to say about myself, so I'm going to pass it on to the Queen.
Well, okay. So I don't have a lot to say about myself. I'm the Queen.
And I am Mystic Katie, and I think I'm the Mystic Truth Teller, but it varies, so.
It does.
And I'm Mystic Margie, the Mystic Illuminator.
Is that a word meaning artist?
Yes, it is.
I thought it was those monks from the...
It is. I'm from
That's
that
the
era.
Illuminati. Isn't that different? I don't know.
Well,
No, the people that illustrated the medieval manuscripts
the
were
Book
called
of Kells.
Illuminators.
were called illuminators.
They
Okay.
bring in the light.
The people that wrote it were called scribes.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
All right. I used to have a scribe in my Girl Scout meetings.
A scribe?
A scribe.
Yeah.
I think it was the word for secretary. But
Oh, it's the
Okay.
secretary.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would ascribe to that.
all right,
Pun
Katie.
intended.
I was the scribe of my tennis club because
does
I
that
How
could
much
mean?
writing do you do in tennis?
You don't, but when you play tennis as badly as I do, they didn't want to
give you a
me off the
job.
team. They gave me a job.
They put you on the bench and tell you to write everything that happens.
Well, I'm the official Mystic Secretary, so I guess I'm a scribe.
Oh, you are a scribe.
Yeah.
True.
You certainly are. You're
Very
a good
true.
secretary, Mary.
Thank you so much. One day we'll publish a book of our Mystic Minutes.
Mary's Mystic Minutes, for those who need to look forward to that book, are amazing. So I think that's a very
Those
good
are
I believe
hilarious.
this is the longest introduction
Yeah, it
we've ever had.
So we do have a theme this week,
Oh,
or this
good.
podcast, or whatever we're doing. But I thought we should start out as we normally do with maybe let's talk about our week that was mystic, a recent or current week that was mystic. So who has had a mystic-like week recently? Mary's raising her hand. She's so polite. That's all that after school teaching.
Oh, we don't raise our hands in after
Oh,
school. We're
okay.
done with all that. I had a Mystic week. I got rear-ended by an uninsured driver, and I think my car is totaled. But when I got home, there was a magazine on my table, Magnolia and Moonshine, and I had 2 articles in it, and Mystic Marion has several things in it,
I
and
read
that
it.
made it so mystic.
I read it, and I have it here for y'all to look over.
Yay! And if y'all out there in Wonderland want to subscribe, you can go to magnoliaandmoonshine.com and just click subscribe, and you get one free in your mailbox.
Is
It's a
it
beautiful
Magnolia and
magazine.
Moonshine or Moonshine and Magnolia?
Magnolia and Moonshine.
Well,
not
I always
Magnolias.
like Moonshine best, but okay.
Well, I think I'm the Moonshine part. And
I bet I would not be surprised. But that's why we love you.
so, yeah, that was fun. Shout out to Mark Reichert and Aidan Cornelison for letting me interview them.
Now, how do I subscribe to this?
Go to the website and just magnoliaandmoonshine.com, and there's a blue button, and you just click subscribe and put in your address.
I see.
And is it monthly, quarterly? Remind me.
Quarterly.
Quarterly.
Yeah. So anyway, the magazine sitting there on my kitchen table really de-skunked the total of my car.
Well, what are you
good.
driving around in now?
Oh, I'm driving my car. It's drivable. It's just the undercarriage or underpan or something like that is crunkled.
Great.
I love that.
It's getting its official diagnosis tomorrow. I'll keep
What
you
did your
posted.
insurance company say?
They said, tell Joe hi. We live in a small town. I mean, it's too boring to talk about.
Okay.
It'll be okay.
Okay. Well,
I
as
mean,
long as it's
I'll be
okay.
out a good, $10,000 to $15,000 for that's what I get for going on an errand in Auburn, Alabama. So, but you know what? It's just money. It grows on trees.
No, your insurance company is supposed to pay for that.
Well, it'll give me $10,000 for my 2015 car that has 130,000 miles on it.
Oh, I see.
But I'll never be able to replace that car that I've babied and taken care of for $10,000.
That's true.
There you go.
Well, my Mystic Week, I had several things happen. I went to Orange Beach, Alabama for 3 days and had a wonderful time. I have a timeshare there that I'm going to leave in my will to someone I hate, so y'all better be really nice to me. And I'm not kidding. My second thing for my Mystic Week was my wonderful friend Hans Paul invited me along with a friend and his wife Lori, and we went to see Jubilee at the Shakespeare. And all of you people out there, if Jubilee is still on by the time this podcast gets to you, I highly recommend it. It's got 40 spirituals sung a cappella by some wonderful voices. This was started at Fisk University as a way to raise money for the new college that had just popped up after the Civil War. I recommend it highly.
Great. Joanne, do you have it looked like you were about to say something
Well,
earlier.
I was waiting for the Queen to finish because we've had mystic moments together and in Margie as well.
Yes.
But the mystics were back on the road again, and we
Well, it's actually
during a storm.
6 blocks from my home.
and we entertained. Well, our world trips are all in our mind, but we entertained the campus club, and it was delightful. Of course, it was raining cats and dogs outside, and we kept looking to
Tornado
see
watches.
tornado watches, not warnings for those who need explanation. Go to your friendly weatherman. But
I thought you were going to say the bathroom in case you hear a train.
well, and that's how I began my little talk was like a stewardess saying, thank you all for coming out. There were about 30 people there in the horrible, horrible rain. I said,
Those people have a death wish.
well, and I gave them, I said, in case of a tornado, we would like you all to rise and walk orderly back to the 2 bathrooms. There will be no lights showing you the way, so run for your lives.
You were giving them the fingers and the hand.
I was doing it just like I've seen my favorite airline attendant do. But it was wonderful.
Oh, that's right. She does put 2 fingers
She
out.
does 2 fingers, the sword fingers, the sword
Yeah, that's
hands.
right.
That's right.
Just like in Tai Chi.
Exactly.
Showing the immortals the way.
And I did. We were hoping we were all going to be immortal. But as we got up to speak, you looked outside and the rain was going sideways. But I didn't hear any tornado sirens, so we just kept on.
I just want to add that although we said we weren't going to do any more fingers in this podcast, when we started talking about flight attendant fingers, everybody at this table started doing the flight attendant fingers. Y'all can visualize that.
Here's the exit at the Langley house. Right here.
They're doing it again.
We should be videotaping these.
Is
shouldn't
that
we?
so you're not like pointing with one
These are
finger?
dragon fingers.
Well, culturally, pointing with one finger in
Right.
some cultures is
It's
rude.
very,
so that
very
makes
rude.
sense.
Yes.
We should Google that sometime.
I'm
to
surprised
find
they
out.
don't use their whole hand.
Yeah, that might mean something else.
It might mean something else. Like,
Well, onward and upward.
Yes.
Marky, do you have a week that was mystic? or a mystic
our
moment week?
reading was mystic, of course, and that was great. Also, I started teaching again at Ollie. I'm teaching a collage class, but they did invite me because your sister couldn't come to do this video. That's a promotion for Ollie for Auburn Giving Day. We didn't have any lines, but we just had to hold these big letters that spelled OLLI, and I held the O.
Oh, good. So you couldn't get that
Oh,
wrong.
I thought you stood at the back with the O. So it would be
No, I held
Lio.
the O. There were 4 of us, of course. OLLI. Then the I walked out, and so the O. The the OLL looked at each other and we rearranged to LOL.
I hope you caught all this on camera.
This is shameful. Aren't you an instructor at Ollie?
Yeah, I forget what we said that LOL was. It was something else.
Lots of laughs.
Not the same thing.
Lots of old.
Lots of learning at Ollie.
And then
I thought Ollie ended in an E, but I've really
no,
never
it's
seen
an
one.
I because it's an institute, but I forget exact
It's the
acronym.
Oshner Lifelong Learning Institute.
We've been over this.
Okay.
Oh, sure. You say, oh, sure. I say, oh, sure.
Okay, well, the good news is
We should ask the family.
the I
pronounce your
came
name?
back, and we went
Where
back.
had the I been?
I just walked off the set, and then and so then we came back. We just had to gesture because we had a narrator that was going to be recorded later. And then we had to go sit in a room with computers to show how slow the computers are. And so they took a close-up of my hand hitting this key trying to get in. And they photographed my hand, which was really this old wrinkled thing. And it was so embarrassing.
You should have given him a finger.
Yes.
I used just one
Using
finger.
the
That was
finger.
Which finger
This is
was
the
that?
finger episode.
It
Is
was
that
the
right?
pointer, the pointer finger. Anyway, that was. I can't wait to see the video.
Yeah.
That was very.
We'll have to post that on the
Yeah, we will.
with our.
Well, that was just one mistake.
Y'all quit. I'm going to
Benefit.
need an adult bib to wipe away my tears.
Thank you, Mary, for sending me your picture in the adult bib, by the way.
Yes.
I cannot tell you how many pictures I've gotten from my followers for that wearing adult bibs.
And since we don't want to go into fully adult bibs, but if anybody's interested in adult bibs, go back to episode 2 episodes ago.
That's right. Or
Yeah,
or
and one
you
of
can
last
just
year's
leave
episodes.
leave a message on our
Yeah,
Facebook.
we can fill you in on the,
Yeah.
the details.
Yeah.
So I had a mystic week that happened before Christmas. My husband and I and another couple and their son went to Alaska. And, you know, not many tourists go to Alaska in December as a rule, but we wanted to be there for the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year. And in Alaska, it's 3 hours and 41 minutes. But we were able to see not only that and take pictures of that in a time lapse, but also the Northern Lights and the Arctic Circle. And it
I'm
was
so jealous.
It was a fabulous trip. I will highly recommend it. Apparently, you do not have to go in the dead of winter, and you can still see beautiful Arctic lights. You can't see the solstice.
From which town in Alaska?
We were in Fairbanks, and
Fairbanks.
the outside of that. But it was negative 45 degrees.
Ooh.
And we did have some amazing refrigerator clothing that kept us fairly warm. But what made it the most mystic to me is just to see how remarkable it is that human beings and animals have survived in that climate. As an Alabama girl, it was really remarkable and gorgeous. I don't want to move there, but I'm so glad that we got to visit it at a time when you could see the reality of
But
what
the
that's
Northern
like.
Lights are all the time there.
They can be. There's certain conditions that make it.
Atmospheric,
Yes,
yeah.
and I think colder weather tends to be clearer skies and maybe more vivid. And 2022 is a very good year for the Northern Lights. There was a lot of activity with the sun because the sun's activity is what affects the Northern Lights.
Yes, the Earth's magnetosphere bends in at the northern and southern poles, just like if you have a
Scientists.
magnet and you put filings on a paper plate, and it makes that shape. So at the northern and the southern poles, the magnetosphere bends in, and the magnetosphere is what shields us from Earth's solar wind, which is what causes us to be able to see it's the solar wind's reaction with the atmosphere that causes the northern lights. So if our magnetosphere would disappear, we would all die because we would be bombarded by the solar wind. It would kill us. But it would be beautiful as we
We'd
go.
It would go, yeah.
Well, this
That's good
puts
to
me
know.
in mind of our trip
So
to the
good to know.
Yukon for the weekend. And I told the Mystic Prince was doing a show there, and I said, because Katie and I obviously weren't staying up all hours of the night, I said, if they're a Northern Light, please call and wake us up. Well, that did not happen. We missed the Northern Lights.
Yes.
So I've never seen them, even though I was right there and available by phone.
Right. Yes. Somehow the Mystic Prince needs to make that up
That's
to
right.
you. Yes.
That's right.
I think so, yeah.
Katie did send us all some pictures of the Northern Lights, but more, I won't say more remarkable because they're just, it's hard to put degrees on them, but sent us a picture, I guess if you driving up there and the trees were covered in ice and snow, and it looked like something out of a fairy tale. It was
did, didn't it?
absolutely gorgeous.
That particular spot was called the Enchanted Forest, and it's on that road, the big highway that Ice Road Truckers is filmed on the way to the Arctic Circle, and it's the Yukon River's wind comes up and coats those trees at the top of a thing, and it was fabulous. So anyway, I can highly recommend Alaska any time of the year at this point. So shall we move on to book recommendations? Does anybody
Let's
have
do.
any?
Oh, I have several.
Well, we'll go ahead then.
Well, I'm reading, I guess I'm the last people the last person of the book club crowd to read this book, but it's The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. And it's very, very cozy mystery. Very cozy. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and the writing's good. And just if you need a great book on a winter day, that's it. It's about a Thursday murder club made up of 4 elderly people in a home. There's 2 more to go with it, called The Man Who Died Twice and The Bullet That Missed. So I'm going to wait to read those and kind of break up my reading. So I broke it up with a book called Slow Horses. And I've had that book on a tab to check out of the library for like a year, but everybody started talking about Slow Horses, and I thought, where have I seen that? Slow Horses. And I think it's on Apple TV, which I don't get. So I kept thinking that, and one day I went back to my computer and looked down, and there was a post-it that said Slow Horses. I got it out of the library, and I'm reading it now. I'm 3/4 of the way through, so I feel like I can recommend it. The writing is extremely, extremely good. And again, well, it's not a cozy mystery. It's a very uncozy mystery. There's so many characters in it, though, that I've taken to writing them down just to keep up with them. When that happens, I usually quit, but this is way too interesting to quit. And then there are 2 more by Mick Herron, same people, Dead Lions, Real Tigers, and Spook Street. And they're spies in this story, so I'm thinking that's where they got the name for Spook Street. And those are my recommendations.
Good. And I will say I have watched the series on Apple TV, and it's fabulous.
The books.
Gary Oldman, he's the best grunge guy ever.
Let's go over to Katie's every night and watch it.
Yeah, we can do that. Oh, that would be
Who's
fun.
got Apple TV?
I have it on my computer, actually.
You do? Mm-hmm. How did you? Are you
They
paying
just
for
it comes up all the time. Apple TV.
Yeah.
You know,
Is
just
it
as
free to you?
Well, I never sign in. I just shut it down because I don't want to watch it then. But
Or
I'll
pay
have to
for it
go,
in case they're gonna
maybe they're
charge
going to
you
ask
later.
me to
Yeah.
pay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not much though, is it? Like
I think it's
$6.99.
$6.99 a month, and you can you can cut it on and off too if you remember to cut things.
I'll
on and
see.
off.
I'll see if I can see it on my computer.
It's worth
Yeah.
watching.
Well, I would love to see it, and reading it is magnificent.
Yeah. So who else has books to recommend? All right, Margie, go for
I
it.
have 2. One is O Caledonia by Elizabeth Barker.
Don't
It
tell
was-
us anything because we're
Uh-huh.
all holding
Yeah.
it in our hands.
Okay, y'all all have your copies?
We do.
Yes.
We just got them.
Why do
Okay.
we all have the same copy?
Because it was a gift from someone.
It's Marion's Christmas present to you.
Yes.
Oh, I know. I was just trying to get the conversation started.
Someone to say that out loud.
Marion's on sabbatical, by the way, but she did send us all the same book, and so we're all going to read it.
And we can talk about that next time. I
Right.
thought it was quite wonderful. And then I just finished Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And an octopus talks in it, a giant Pacific octopus.
Well, I knew this was bound to happen.
Yes, it's quite good. It really is.
Do y'all know how many octopus books we've recommended
I know.
over the years?
I have one that I don't recommend that Wayne gave me for Christmas because he knows that I like octopuses, and it was called Lily and the Octopus. And I don't mean to disrespect that book, but do not read it.
Well, that's pretty disrespectful. I mean, you can't
Well,
get any more
it's
disrespectful.
it's about a man and his dog, but the dog is dying, and the dog,
don't go on.
The
Yeah.
dog's tumor is he calls
Marion
an octopus.
won't listen to this
No,
podcast.
I know. So anyway, don't read that one.
I have a question. Did Santa Claus that gave you this book buy it on Amazon?
Yes.
Well, you can go on Amazon and zap that book
Yeah, I will.
with recommendations because that's what I've done with my hand vacuum. It's the second second one I bought,
Uh-huh.
the button to clean it out and the button to make it go are right together. So you start cleaning it out, and if you hit the button to clean it, you start using it. If you hit the button to clean it out, it all flies apart,
out.
and everything you've picked up goes all over the room.
And even farther away than it was.
Yeah.
It's the anti-vacuum.
Isn't that what the Addams family, or maybe it was the Munsters, dusted? They turned their vacuum cleaner backwards and blew dust
Well,
all over
this
the
is what
place?
happens, and every time
Yeah, I
I
like it.
have been pointing my finger at it, and so I went on Amazon and gave it a very low rating.
I have one more I've been listening to that I took back up again on Audible, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And it's pretty good. I haven't finished listening to it, but did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. I think that's the same author that wrote, oh, heck, never mind. Another
Taylor
book that
Jenkins Reid. is
The
author.
Daisy and the Six or something like that I think they're making a movie of. Pretend I didn't say any of that. But yeah, I liked that book.
Okay.
Well, I like it, and I haven't read it just because she had 7 husbands, and I think that's just
Something to aspire to.
I keep
We
counting
may be
them.
starting a little late.
I'm only on 5, I think, right now.
I was
Are
going to say,
any
and I
of
was
them
thinking,
young and cute.
Yeah. So it's about Hollywood, a starlet.
Oh, and also I'd like to say to my audiences, like Susanna Smith, thank you for sending me pictures of all these handsome men you met in Italy. I enjoyed it so much.
A friend of mine gave me a gondolier calendar once. It was so good.
Did they have clothes on?
Yeah, they had clothes on,
Okay,
but they
just
were
curious.
so cute. You know.
Is that like a fireman calendar?
Uh-huh, yeah.
But
But it
it's
was the gondoliers.
Oh, how European.
I
How
know.
sophisticated.
Really? So, Joanne, do you have a book recommendation?
Well,
or something to
I
recommend?
am in the midst of, I took, Ollie, we were talking about Ollie earlier. Ollie has a book room, and you can take books that you're finished with and drop them off there, and it's like a mini library.
Do you have to return them, unlike
No.
our secrets? in
No,
the
you
United
do not.
States?
In fact, please do not return them. They're trying to get rid of them. But people drop off books, and so I go there often to try to unclutter. That we'll be talking later about our resolutions. But I go and I took 8 books the other day, and I walked home with 4. So it's a dangerous
Pretty
thing.
good.
Well, you're cleaning out 4, though.
Well,
It's when it goes
I
in the
did.
other direction. You take
Yeah.
4 and come home with 8. That's
You know, I'm on a
Yes, the problem.
12-step program with my problem with clothes. And so I took 3 outfits to Goodwill and unfortunately came home with 3.
Well, yeah, it's got to just set them free,
Yeah.
them free, and not go and get their friends.
So, did you find a book then?
I did. Well, I'm reading an old Heinlein book.
Look at
I
you.
love- yeah. Well, I really do like science fiction. And this is called Methuselah's Children. I haven't finished it yet, though, but it's really disturbing. It's about, well, it is because it is so, Heinlein he wrote this in 1958. And so I'm seeing references to, 2025, and some of the things have happened, that he's referencing. It's just that the human condition has not changed. No
Yeah.
matter what the advances science makes, that the human condition does not change, unfortunately.
So, Mary, do you have a book or something?
Yes,
to
I'm
recommend?
rereading an old favorite because I saw the movie, and then I saw White Noise, which was amazing, and everybody should see it. And do not ask me what it's showing on. You just have to look on your little computer in your hand and say, how do I watch White Noise? It's a fabulous movie.
Netflix.
New. And so I went back to reread the book by Don DeLillo, and y'all, it's so good. I was curious if the movie dialogue was true to the book because it was so quirky and unusual and interesting. And it is brilliantly true to the book. It's so good. So reading White Noise is like eating salted caramel ice cream. Like I want to write down every sentence, but then it's like, no, then I'd be writing White Noise. I cannot recommend it strongly enough. It's a quirky, sometimes funny, sometimes
And what's
shocking.
the name of the book again?
White Noise.
Oh, White
Comment on
Which is
mostly consumerism.
The movie is the same
The
name.
movie is the
Of
same name.
Have you seen that movie?
I have not.
I read the
But
book
I will look.
a long time ago.
Yeah, it's old, and I'd read it a long time ago too. It's my husband Joe's favorite book in the world, and maybe the only actual novel that he's read in since we've been married. And I loved it then, but I just was curious about the writing, and it's so good.
He's a great writer.
He is. Well, I haven't read his other books; they're too long.
Oh, no, they're not Libra, isn't it?
Glancing into the movie, though, it's got Greta Gerwig and Adam Driver.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is fabulous. It's a timeless state of a human condition, like Joanne was saying. It's just, you see these movies and you're like thinking it's so apropos to right now, and it was happening, I don't know when it was written, 20 years ago. So that's my current book recommendation,
Good.
White Noise by
Okay.
Don DeLillo.
So I have some book recommendations, but they may have already been recommended in previous podcasts. So
That's
I'm not going
okay,
to go into
'cause
any
we don't
detail.
listen to our own
Okay,
podcast,
good.
so-
Well, I know we've talked about them as mystics. I can't remember if we did it on mic or off. So, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie
Fabulous.
Garmis is fabulous.
I'm reading that one too.
I love
about
that one.
halfway
That
through.
was
Yes,
great.
it's
One of my
funny and
favorites.
also very profound and
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Horse by Geraldine Brooks,
Yes,
which was
that's
fabulous
my book club
too.
book for
Yeah.
February.
And I am suggesting, I'm rereading one right this minute that I've read many years ago that'll come up later in our conversation, which is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Oh, yeah.
And then
I
there-
read that a long time
Well,
ago.
it's a 12-step program too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's more interactive.
We love the art of sway.
So I know that's what Mary.
The artist way, because when we were all reading it once upon a time, Mary had an injury a writing injury it was.
NaNoWriMo.
That's right. She had been so ardent in finishing NaNoWriMo that she threw out her neck and her back and her
You
arm.
better
and
tell
so-
everyone what NaNoWriMo is.
NaNoWriMo is the National November Writing Month, and you have to write, 50,000 words, which Mary did, throughout her...
Deleted.
and deleted.
The other thing
But
Mary did... Oh, go ahead.
she was on some pain medication, and so as we were all talking about that book, The Artist's Way, she wrote down in her minutes, as the good scribe that she is, The Art of Sway.
I just have to say that book absolutely changed my life. I would not be in the position I'm in today if I hadn't read it. And I keep it out. I've never put it back on the bookshelf since the first time
I
I've
keep
read
it
it.
back.
And I read it. And now I date my marginalia because I read it all the time. Like at least once a week I'm going through there. I've taken a big red marker and X'd out all of the little story parts about, I knew somebody who did, I'm not interested in that part, but it's all based in like Carl Jung's stuff. And just today I joined a Facebook group, a Carl Jung Facebook group. I don't ever know if I'm saying his name right. And one of the questions was why? And I was like, well, because he changed my life.
Yeah.
And that is the truth. That book is transformative in every way, even if you skip the week without reading The Artist's Way.
Yes.
Well, I want to say something about the time when Mary was drugged because she had taken something for her pain from writing too much on the computer. We had a reading at the Blue Shoe, and I'm always telling these women, please be very professional. Don't say, am I next, or who's going up. Just read the list and stand up and go. So I get up to read, and Mary comes and stands right beside me. I look at her sideways thinking maybe if I look at her, but she's very happy to be there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'd never in my life taken anything stronger than an aspirin. Nothing. And that pain I was in, I went up every level of painkiller up through things that were not covered by insurance that were for cancer patients. And I still hurt so bad I could not move.
So writing's bad for you.
It was
It's demanding.
doing 1,000 words in 10 minutes on writeordie.com repetitively over and over is bad for you. But I apologize for anything I did when I was taking those strong drugs. Never took them again.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
though.
it gives great material.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anybody that shakes up the queen deserves a thumbs up because
gonna say
I
it
didn't
was
know whether to ask one of our mystic sisters to come and get you or to let you join in the talk or what. And they were so helpful. They were laughing.
Yeah. Well, this is hilarious, but we have a new year to start. So why don't we get into the podcast subject?
Oh,
Would y'all be okay with that? I
okay.
hate to
Yeah,
break
let's
us
do.
off.
Let's do.
All right, so our topic this time is called A Mystic New Year. What I really wanted us to do, so it's always a new year, new us, right? Or not. And we know that the fail rate for people who do New Year's resolutions is terrible. And, some people love them, some people hate them. I thought it would be really interesting to have the mystics talk about how they feel about New Year's resolutions, whether they do them, and have a conversation about that. And then we're going to sum it up at the very end with some suggested resolutions or sage
Some
mystic
wise,
advice. All right, so Who makes resolutions here?
Well, I have something to say about them.
Okay.
Because of the failed part of the resolutions. I looked up resolutions and started thinking about how serious a resolution is, and it's like marriage. It should not be entered into unadvisedly or lightly. And so I looked up synonyms, and my favorite synonym of resolution was, let me see, Sitzfleisch.
Spell that, please.
Sitzfleisch, which means sit on your butt.
Oh.
Sits-
and
yeah,
in what
sits
language?
flush.
Is that German?
It's German.
Okay.
And sit on your butt until you get the job done. It's stick-to-itiveness, and it's the opposite. Sitzfleisch is the opposite of ants in your pants. That in
Is that
mind.
ant splash?
Ants splash.
Ant splash.
Ants splash. It's the opposite of ants splash.
Hormigas en sus pantalones.
Okay. Now that was a different language, right?
So I've thought about resolutions I'd made in the past, which is we will be talking about later. But I thought about, I'm just going to make recommendations to myself because I'm in a period of my life where I'm thinking about leading my very best life. I have to speak to that in my resolutions. And the way I have made my very best life is best said by the word enough. And it is enough to go to one museum a day. It is enough to do one thing a day. It's enough to hang around with your favorite people and no one who isn't. And it's enough not to join a club or be an officer of a club. So you select the very best of your activities and your friends and do that, and it's enough. And also, the things that I have recommended to myself is I should hang out with interesting people, travel, read, study, write poetry, and just write, and then practice my keyboard, which I will continue to say has been quite unsuccessful, and to be philanthropic because happiness is doing for others.
Very good.
I like
Yeah,
that, Gail. I like
Yeah,
Very.
I do too.
Those are good.
We need to post these so
Suggestions.
other bodies can.
But I don't think young people get to this stage. They easily
we
can
didn't
go. Yeah.
when we were young.
Speaking of it, well, I'm considering young up to right 70.
Okay,
maybe.
I like that.
Well, along that line, and it sounds like that. I used to make resolutions, and yes, I've came through with some of them. But then I'm Catholic, so even if you fail your resolutions, Lent is always right around the corner, and you can start again. But I liked my sister made this suggestion last year, and instead of making a list of resolutions, she uses one word basically as your motto for the year. Gail's is obviously enough. Hers this year was to be intentional. Mine is going to be complete.
That's
Oh, my, Joanne.
Like 8
We're going to be getting
Finish what
12
you start.
novels this year from Joanne.
like finish what I start. And I've done some of it already. Hey, we're putting together a book, and
Yeah.
I've managed to try to get stuff in, but it keeps coming home again. But
feel ya.
instead of
I'm sorry.
but anyway, so yeah, just to make something intentional.
I like that.
That's a great resolution.
I don't write novels, but we were talking about the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I might write a novel called The 12 Novels of Joanne Gale. And it could be like one of those choose your own adventures.
You know-
you can choose your own endings.
I was always tempted to
like
take
that. There's
take
money in
that
that.
half novel of hers about breaking into the house and write it myself and then just present it at Mystic Meeting.
Well, because we all want to know how it ends, Joanne.
And that is one of the things I'm going to
Concentrate on.
complete.
I like the one about the medieval witch woman.
Is that the one where she had the dirty thing about the
Yes.
priest and his breeches?
Yes, and that one is not needing completing.
Well, Joanne,
That might be a different audience.
Yeah.
She might make more money with that one than.
like your sister, I do the one word, and there's actually this whole, it's a movement. It's a thing, the one word. And so I've been doing the one word for years, and one of the one words really made a difference. And that was the year that I planned to retire. And my word for that year was persist. And I wrote it every single day in my notebook, persist, persist, because I was so scared to retire. It was such a big jump, but I had ideas and I had plans, and I needed to not just flake out on it. So I persisted and I did it. And I've had other one words, like the word for 2022 was fun, because I suffered through the damn locking myself up for 2 years in COVID.
And before that, you were working hard.
Yes. And so I did have fun. And I was at the end of the year, I was like, let me think about my word. Well, I ended up as an after school director, and yeah, it's work, but the goal of my job is to have fun. I mean, that is the goal. No more state standards. It's the kids need to be safe and have fun. So I have had fun.
That's for after school, though.
Yeah, it's my new job, my
Yeah.
after school job.
But they need to learn and not after school.
Right, but that's no longer my job.
Thank goodness.
No kidding. I did just discover there's some like standards for after school. I was like, I'm not even going to look at that. Not even going to look. Anyway, I do the one word. My word this year is nourish, because there's a few things going really well right now in my life, and I need to just nourish them and not take on any more stuff. So similar to enough and similar to complete. But fun was a good one. I recommend that word.
That is a good one. Right, Margie?
Oh, dear. I don't. I guess my word. Well, I can't really.
You don't have to take a word, Margie. You don't have
We're not going to have a
rebel.
resolution.
Okay,
or
okay,
have
okay.
a recommendation.
Well, yeah, or do you do resolutions? That's the
Usually I
first
don't
question.
do resolutions.
Have we forced you to do it because of this podcast?
Yes, you have. But these are my plans for the new year. One, to work on these large format paintings and show them. And they have a theme of people being attacked by birds. No, or
Shades of Audrey Hepburn.
no, that was Tiffy.
Tippi
Hedren, yes. No, well, they're not really guided by birds. Let's put it that way. Birds are a theme with people. And I'm planning an art exhibit for spring or fall at Art
Are
House.
you doing any crows? Because they're my favorites.
I did have a
Or
crow in
ravens.
one, but it turned into a rooster. But there'll be crows coming. My
ravens.
the blue jay and the red-winged blackbird are kind of becoming stars, but I don't really know how their story is going to turn out. Things are evolving as I work. Just so.
A quick side note, blue jays, who are some of my favorite birds in the world, are corvids, which I feel so justified when I learned that. I was like, okay, all you people that hate blue jays, stop it. They're corvids, which makes them automatically cool crow relatives.
They're low crow cousins or whatever.
Low crows?
Low crows.
Blue crows.
No, blue crows.
Low crows.
Blue. And I am planning an exhibit. Okay, I said that. Get rid of all of these clothing that I've purchased.
12-step program? Oh, no.
No, this
That's
is
your
my own line. I have to get back promoting it. I'm going to have some special shows and some sales to do that. And also learn more Tai Chi, which is like really one of the funnest things that I do besides paint. So I really do.
And you're doing a great job with that, Margie. And so
Well,
are you,
thank you.
Joanne.
I need to complete the 24. That is.
I don't know the 24 at all.
I
I've
wanna do
looked
the
at it
24.
today to try to learn it, because we do it as a warm-up for the 73, and everybody is doing, parting the wild horse's mane, and I'm going, what?
She's using her fingers. And there, yeah.
So I'm trying to get a little leg up on it.
Well, that was my problem with Tai Chi.
Well, I have for years, because of the artist's way, have always done, instead of resolutions, I do a manifesto. And so this is sort of my manifesto. So what I do is make a list of things that I would like to accomplish. Some is specific and some general. And then I print it out and paste it on my desk. And then I can go back and refer to it.
Is that daunting?
No, not really, because I can ignore it. I'm really good at that. But it's there if I'd like to. And then I can, at about July, which is when my birthday is, and midway through the year, I'll go through and say, all right, have I done any of these? How do I feel about these? Am I halfway there?
Complete.
And or complete, right. And so it's been, what I have learned, though, is that if I write it down, maybe not everybody, if I write it down, it's more likely to happen. And that's another artist's way thing, is that, if you put it down in writing, then things manifest from that. And so that's why I do it
I
this
do
way.
that every day.
Please
Yeah.
share.
Yeah, let's hear
well,
it.
I want to
let's
see it too. I have to write everything down, but you know what I learned? Oh, this will be quick about dopamine, that sometimes we get so excited about our projects. If we talk about them a lot, that we get this huge dopamine rush, and sometimes it leaves us too exhausted to do the project. And I thought that was
I
very
can
That's
see
me
how that
after
is.
12 o'clock. No.
Yeah. Okay, back to the manifesto. I
Okay.
can't wait to
Yeah.
see it.
All right, so this year I have 3 universal manifesto points. I'm going to plan, I'm going to act, and I'm going to do better, not more, because that's a hard thing to do.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to attempt to do these things. I'm not promising it. And then I have some general ones, things, like take better care of myself, learn to say no to things I really don't want to do. That's a hard
Amen,
one.
That's right,
sister.
A really
Katie.
hard one.
Good for you.
Cultivate old and new friendships. Live more sustainably and intentionally. So it gets a little weedy there. I won't
That's
take you all
not
the way
weedy.
into the
That's
weeds,
wonderful.
and then I have one that's find my backbone, literally and figuratively, which would probably relate to losing weight as well as standing up for myself. So, but anyway, and then I have some more precise ones, things like I want to ride another horse this year and I want to do some things like that. But what I do love about this is that it does give me a reminder that when especially those days when you're like, I'm just out of steam, then I can go over there and look and go, oh, I could do this today, or I could work toward this today. And then often things just show up that you didn't expect because they're written down. So I would say to everybody, write it down, even if you
absolutely.
You know, when I said I write it down every day, it's not heady like that. It's like change the sheets in the.
Well, a to-do list is a fabulous thing too. But
So, Katie, it looks like you almost have, I'm eyeballing her manifesto over here. It almost looks like you have a template. Maybe you could share that and we could put it on our
glad
Facebook
to.
page as sort
but
of a
she-
template for a
Do you
manifesto.
have a place to check off if you did it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my goodness!
It's ranked from.
I marked through mine.
and none of these have a check by them already. But it's only 25 days into the year.
I
so.
love looking over your shoulder. It's ranked from universal to general to precise.
Yeah,
That's
such
a wonderful
wordsmithing,
way to
isn't
do it.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful
You know,
way to
there
do
is
it.
a German word. I mark through the ones I've accomplished, and
Yeah.
if I don't get them done, then I add them to the next bit. There's a German word for the pleasure of marking something off a list. I'll have to get out my book
Please
to
find
tell
that
you.
word, because
Joanne
I
should
think
know.
it's hard,
No,
probably
well,
hard for me to pronounce.
Germans, if they don't have a word for something, they put 2 or 3 together.
Well, that's
Okay.
what this
And
is.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my uncle is an engineer, and if he does something that he didn't have on his list, and then now he can't go mark it off, he'll go back to his list, write it down, do it again, and then mark it off.
Oh, wow. That's
Well, what if it's take a bath?
I guess he takes 2.
yeah.
Well,
He
that
is-
is crazy.
He's so funny. They're brothers. My stepfather went to visit him, and Joel said, well, Steve, today on my list, we're going to wash your car. And out they went and washed Steve's car on
I
their
love
visit.
that.
You cannot.
I love that.
The list will not be denied. It will
Come to
have
my
its way.
house and make a list.
I think you should write a little story about this guy.
I think so too.
Yeah,
'Cause that's what
material.
Marvel-
Joel
Marvelous.
Harrison, we're calling you out. Steve Harrison,
Yeah.
we want a story about Joel.
Absolutely. Well, the other question I have for y'all, though, are there any? Has everybody talked about their?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I hadn't skipped anybody.
Absolutely.
Has anybody ever had a resolution that was either, or know of a resolution that was either horrible or ridiculous?
Well,
that,
I
that
did.
didn't. Okay, so
I
tell
did.
us.
This was about maybe 15 years ago. I made a resolution to not use a plastic bag.
Oh,
well,
yeah?
that's impossible because some stores won't let you walk
It's
out
noble.
with the merchandise in your hand. And in particular, this one Goodwill store down at the beach. She said, well, you can't just walk. I said, well, I've got the receipt. She says, no, I'll walk it to your car.
Good grief.
So I decided at that moment I'd buy one of everything for the next few minutes while my friend was shopping, and she'd have to walk it to my car. But since then, it's really started me on the road to thinking about my carbon footprint. I think that was my most unsuccessful and successful resolution.
That's good. Yeah, you learned something from that resolution. And
Yes.
yeah.
You don't always get to your goal, but you learn something along the way.
There you go.
That's what I teach
love
my
that voice.
students
Yeah.
every single week in our writing class.
Right. Does anybody else have failed or know of failed resolutions? Or
Can I read quickly a list of my favorite resolutions? Y'all probably have all seen this on Facebook or wherever you go to your social media. But it's Woody Guthrie's list from 1942, which he wrote
Yes,
at age
I'd love to
30.
hear
Yeah, I
it.
love
And it
that.
is absolutely delightful. And I'm not going to say numbers because it takes too long. Work more and better. Work by a schedule. Wash teeth, if any. Shave. Take bath. Eat good. Fruit, vegetables, milk. Drink very scant, if any. Write a song a day. That's a good one. Wear clean clothes. Look good. Shine shoes. Change socks. Change bedclothes often. Read lots good books. Listen to radio a lot. Learn people better. Keep Rancho clean. Don't get lonesome. Stay glad. Keep hoping machine running. I don't know about that. Dream good. Bank all extra money. Save dough. Have company, but don't waste time.
Save dope.
Dough.
Well, it
D-O-U-G-H.
could be dope too. That's what you used to buy the dope.
I love this one. Send Mary and kids money. Play and sing good. Dance better. Help win war. Beat fascism. Love mama. Love papa. Love Pete. Love everybody. Make up your mind. Wake up and fight.
Oh, those are great.
Isn't that great?
I like it, but I'm worried about his personal hygiene. He has to write it down to do that.
It was Woody Guthrie.
I think he had problems with that.
You know.
Yeah.
So I never ate at Alice's restaurant, I'll say that.
I looked up some fun New Year's resolutions, and actually they're mostly jokes, but make vanilla pudding, put it in a mayo jar, eat in public. Follow joggers around in your car, blasting Eye of the Tiger for encouragement. Run into a store, ask someone, what year is it? And when they give it to you, yell, it worked, and run out of the store. And a major in philosophy. Ask people why they want fries with that.
That's great. Margie, do you have any?
Oh, no, I don't make them, but
I know of any.
I've once made one to quit drinking wine, and then it changed.
Well, that didn't work.
It changed to quit drinking so much wine.
They're adaptable.
That didn't work either.
And it said, limit yourself to only white for a week.
See, you went from the universal to the general to the specific.
I gave up wine one time. It was for Lent. This was for Lent, not for resolutions, but it's same.
What happens when you mess up at Lent?
Nothing. I mean, it's just like New Year's resolutions.
Forgiveness is
but it's
eternal.
your soul is into it as well as your mind. But my secretary called my husband and said she needs to break that resolution.
For everybody's sake, you needed to. Well, my worst resolution I did not put it on this year, but I have every year before, and it's never worked, is to improve my handwriting. So that one's off the list this year. I've decided
Well, you're
I'm
in
old
good
enough.
company because they're not
up.
teaching handwriting
Oh,
anymore.
they're not? Okay. Good.
It's still in the state standards.
Yeah.
Did you just skip that class or what?
No, I used to be I had really nice handwriting for years, and then I became a journalist. And I was taking notes in my own shorthand, and so I just scribble, and that's how it's devolved instead of evolved,
Yeah.
or it's evolved in the wrong direction. Anyway, but now I do try to print more precisely when I'm writing checks and things like that. Important things. But
You print your checks?
I print the amounts and stuff on there.
Amounts.
And
who it's
and then
to.
just ugly scribble.
Yeah,
your
just
name.
scribble it. Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah, right. So, as writers, do y'all have any specific resolutions in the writing world? I'm cold, catching you cold with that one because I don't think we talked about it.
As writers?
Yeah, completing
complete.
at least 2 of the 8 novels. Yes.
Okay.
My last year's resolution for writing was to make any amount of money writing so that I could call myself an official writer and write some things off my taxes. And I've actually succeeded this year with my column and some other things. So that's part of my nourish. I would like to move that further. Not just the making money part, but just
Building
writing
that.
and having some exposure.
Gail?
I think the most important thing a writer should do, other than write and continue writing, is to read. And then if you see something interesting in a book, write it down. I mean, don't use it in your work.
Not verbatim, anyway.
But no, turn a
Our
few
lawyer will
words
have to get on
around.
that.
use your synonyms. And that's the other thing writers should do. They should fall back on their synonyms, because if they use the same word over and over and over, it's boring.
Yeah.
This is just an exercise that I did for a while, and take a word just any word, just a common word, and then write as many synonyms or descriptions of that word as you could. For example, sky. And you could write, blue dome. You could write
Space.
The
You picked a bad word. That's a hard one.
Well, but that you take
a
a hard
big
one, and it makes you think. How else can I say this?
Yeah, right. Margie, any writing? I know you've got a lot of art things.
Oh,
on your-
just to write better and more.
That's good. Well, I Googled that for this particular podcast and came up, there's a lot out there. So if any of our listeners are interested in being writers or already are writers, and then that can be a fun thing to kind of focus on in the coming year. And I always think about Isabel Allende, who always begins her books on January the 8th. And that's because I think in 1981, she was a refugee in Venezuela from Chile during all of the turmoil. And her grandfather was in Chile dying. And so she sat down on January 8th and wrote him a letter. And that became The House of Spirits, her
Ooh,
very
that's a
first book.
wonderful book.
And so
Wow.
if y'all Google that too, she talks about how important it is that on that day, and her family knows on January 8th, just leave me alone. And for a certain period of time after that when she's working on a book. So I love the idea of picking, the start date doesn't have to be January 1st. We can start anytime during the year, but just pick a time that you think, now I'm ready and I'm going to pick this date, and then stick with it from that. And every year you've got sort of a fresh start. A new year doesn't happen always in January. There's lots of other New
Allende
Years.
does a TED Talk, too.
Yeah, about creativity and
TED Talk, too.
lots of other things. But the ones that I found that I thought were really kind of helpful were to read more, write to the audience, paint a picture, write simpler, get an editor, share your writings, call yourself a writer, start making money, and remain true to yourself. So those are some good basic ones to start with for any of us who are
And
writers.
I've got one more suggestion. Get over yourself.
Well, so many writers though are trying to find themselves.
That's
so
okay.
it's the writers
That's
who are
okay.
or
It's-
the human beings who are a bit
like,
much. You
Let
should
me
get over
tell
yourself.
you this that you probably didn't know.
Well,
Yeah.
Go.
and I would say, I would add to that list, write every day. Write every day, even if it's just a couple of lines, even if it's a note, write every day. I gave some of the mystics a cartoon, and it's these people in a dungeon, and one of them is marking the days on the wall as you see it, and he's telling his friend, he said, it may be tedious and time consuming, but the important thing is to write every day.
That's great.
And you know what? I think you should practice the turn of the phrase and the use of the word, because that makes good writing. This author I'm reading for Slow Horses said, I say this too, I'll talk about people who are really boring. I'm meeting and I go, it's like meeting a charcoal briquette, which I think is very descriptive. But on the other hand, he said he was talking to two spies and they were so uninteresting. He said it was like talking to two refrigerators. And I like that so much better than mine. I'm going to steal it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But on that note, I want to say that everybody's got a style, and some styles are plain, and some people love that, And I read books sometimes that are not interesting to me, and they may be like huge bestsellers. And the romance genre comes to mind, and I had always had sort of the snobby attitude about romance. I have never been able to read a romance novel, not even the one that was written with my brother as the main character, and that's
How
the
about
truth.
20 Shades of Grey or whatever
I
that
didn't
was?
read it, but
There
the
are
thing
50
about
of
it
them, I
is,
think.
But she's rich.
those
I only have 20.
it's not just that they're rich, y'all. They are fun. I joined some groups about romance writers to see what was going on. And these people, men and women, are doing it. A lot of them are doing it under pseudonym. A lot of them are writers in other genres with pen names. And they are having a blast. And they are writing a formula. And they are not using anything quirky or particular. I mean, I don't find it palatable, but I'm not going to say they're not real writers or that
Right.
their writing's not good. It's good for the people that read it, and it is the number one
my
selling
suggestions
genre.
aren't made to the suggestions I've made here today are not made to
disclaimer.
romance writers.
Right, right.
But they are making money.
Well, that, if
They're
that is your
making more
reason
money than anybody
If
else.
that's your reason to write, shame on you.
No, it's not
Well,
my
no,
reason, but that was some
That's
people's
not what I'm saying. I'm saying
goal.
they're just delightful and fun, and they're having fun. It's a very it changed the way I thought about different types of writing, and me putting labels on writing. It's like
Yeah.
it sort of went out the window. It's like, I can't read a romance novel, but I am thrilled that they're writing
That
them.
they're having fun with it too.
Right.
And the people are reading them.
Right. And I write for a living. I mean, that has, for 40 years, I've paid my bills as a writer and editor and that sort of thing. But for me, the hard part now is to say, now let's write for me and not for an audience.
That's going to be interesting.
Or not
Right.
for money. And that can be, so when you say shame on them for writing for money, I'd have to beg to differ, because otherwise my kids would be naked. But at the same time, I think you have to trust your instincts and not write just anything for money. Be
That's what I mean.
Right, exactly.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's,
Writing
but you know,
romance for
and
no-
I
money.
wrote for money, but none of you would want to read it because they were briefs. I mean, they
Yeah.
were 50-page briefs. They were 100-page briefs, and about as dry as unbuttered toast.
And they're all in passive tense because that's how lawyers have to write.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we do write. I try to change that. Yeah,
But they were important too.
Well, Katie, when
obviously.
you said you were going to write for yourself, what does that entail? I mean, I think I write for myself
Yeah.
because I'll have an idea and go, ooh.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That's it, is writing for yourself.
Well, for me, I do not take on a story that I'm not interested in. I'm just not going to write just any old thing, especially as I've gotten older. It's like, I don't have to do that. And I love the act of writing as a writer and also doing the interviews and the research. There's so much I love about writing. But now my goal in this year is that I'm going to pick the stories that I am just crazy about and that I'm fascinated about. So topics and specific interviews and things like that I want to write about versus just by assignment. Because I've been given assignments all my life, which is great. I mean, it's wonderful because I've learned things I would never have found out because I wouldn't have thought to go ask questions about it unless somebody assigned it. But I want to write, I've got topics that I'm interested in that I want to concentrate
And
on.
I can understand perfectly because that's exactly what I want to be when I grow up, is a
Yeah.
writer that writes for herself.
Yeah, yes, right.
Well, I'm glad I'm writing for myself
I
because
am
I am
too.
ever so grown up.
There is a sort of ick, or what do they call it now, an ick factor writing thing that goes around. And Gail, I think this is a lot of what you're talking about too, is there's like Medium is constantly pushing out articles. People are putting them on Medium, and it's how to make people read your articles on Medium so that you make money, and how to make a list. And if you've looked up a recipe online lately, you have to scroll past
All of that.
a insignificant
I hit
story to
jump-
get the recipe.
Jump to recipe. Is
Yeah.
what I do.
And they're doing that because the longer you spend staring at the page, the more it's showing up as time spent reading your article, and you might be able to monetize that. And that is not writing, and you're just writing to get people to look at it so you make money. So, I mean, that is not writing.
No.
Yeah. So we're about to run out of time, I think,
We
if we
don't
haven't
care.
already. But
We don't care.
I would love to hear a piece of sage advice from each mystic about life or writing or whatever you'd like to mention. And, let's send our listeners off into the new year with something that they can take, a take-home message.
I think I've already told mine.
You may have.
Which was be philanthropic, because the happiest people look outside of themselves to help others. And then I've got follow your passions and your best people and your best activities, study and read.
Very good.
I have one.
Okay.
Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think.
That's the truth.
that's great.
Amen,
That is the
sister.
truth, Margie. I'm going to take that one.
Yeah.
Can I start over? It's enjoy yourself. 'Cause it's later.
Mine is similar to Gail's, and I would say focus on your passion, not the way you look.
Very good.
And give a compliment a day. And that comes to Gail's being philanthropic. And write down one thing you're grateful for every night.
Yeah.
Gratitude.
A gratitude jar.
Yeah.
You can do that,
I have some. If you get rear-ended, be sure to get a police report.
And look at the insurance card
Did
of
you
the
get a
people who
police
hit you.
report?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Is that your only one?
Well, all the rest of them are kind of Buddha and Zen.
That's
Right.
good. We can
Chill,
use
y'all.
some of that.
It's just chill. Like nobody's in control of anything, and
Yeah.
don't worry about other people.
Yeah, that's what
Just
it's
you
the
can't change
process.
people. That's
Yep.
all.
Very good.
Yeah, the
What's
process.
yours?
The process.
I think
sorry.
That's okay. I think mine would be is to find your people and to nurture each other. And because that's what
good.
the mystics do for me. And that's what makes it worth getting up in the morning is knowing
and
you've got
it's
your own.
our 25th year.
Wow.
Hard to believe.
No.
Hard
I
to
know.
believe.
It's hard to believe. I think when we read to people, the audience wants to know why. How did this work? Mm-hmm. I don't think that can be explained.
No.
It's mystical.
It's mystical.
It is.
Yeah.
It
Can't be
is.
explained.
That's why we're the mystics.
Yeah. Well, Mary can be explained. Explained. She wanted in and would not leave. And
That's
we're so
good.
glad.
Yeah.
I'm a Taurus. I'm loyal. Once I cling on, baby, I'm there
Yeah.
for life.
Well, so speaking of mystic moments, shall we end the show with has anybody had a mystic moment? Not just a mystic week, but an actual moment. Gail's nodding.
Yes, we're talking about reading for the campus club, and let me shout out to those ladies. They were the best audience.
They were. They were fantastic.
Great. Just so generous with everything. They brought food, but anyway, as we said, there was a tornado afoot while we were reading, and this is not the first time. The mystics must just bring it on. I don't know, and a lot of people showed up. A lot of nice women showed up. I told my husband on the way out, Bob, it'll be a miracle if anybody comes to this. I'm not sure I would go if I'm not reading because it looks so dangerous outside. Well, Bob started thinking about that and got dressed and showed up. And when he walked in the door with this whole women, I think Bob was a little shocked that it was all women. But when he walked in the door, I thought, well, a tornado has hit our house. So I ran
here
over
to
to
tell
him
you.
and said, what happened? What happened? And he said, well, you said there wasn't going to be anybody at your reading, so I'm here.
Oh, that was so
a guy.
sweet.
Yes,
What a
the
guy.
mystic king. Yeah. All right.
Margie?
Nothing.
No.
No. Okay.
Well, I mean, every moment.
Every moment's
That's
mystical.
true, Margie.
Margie
Every
lives,
moment's
Margie
mystical.
lives in a mystical world.
She does.
And I will give a shout out to Margie. She is teaching our collage class, and I see why she is such a good teacher. She
Who is
can,
our?
The eye walks away unless the eye leaves the room.
Marion and I were taking Margie's collage class. Marion signed up for it. I just busted on up in there.
You better not say that online. I mean, what if they come and
Oh,
get you?
really?
Paying
I thought
for
you were
the
on my
semester.
roll.
I can take 100 classes if I want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
She
a
just
non-
didn't
I
pre-enroll.
just
I
didn't
just
want them to
didn't.
handcuff you at the collage class.
Shy.
I'm changing my advice. If anybody butts up into your class, get a police report immediately.
Not just if they
Right.
butt up against your back end.
Unless it's your attorney.
And the attorney will get the police report for you, darling. My mystical moment happened this morning. As I was running out the house with my tail on fire, as usual, I looked at our denuded Japanese maple, and on every limb, and probably 20 on every limb, were little drops of water. And with the sun coming through it, it looked like little lights on the
Sweet.
tree. And so I was contemplating that, and as I was driving out my driveway, the ladies greeted me. There were 4 deer in the middle of the road, and they were munching and waving and, telling
the
me have a
pearl.
good, that's right.
Kidding. Royal
And then
way.
as I came through town, I stopped at a stoplight right there by the railroad tracks, and a huge hawk landed on the telephone pole that I was right by. I mean, I was like bending in my car. And then I went to church this morning, and when I got there,
Is it Sunday?
no, it's not. I found a diamond in the pew.
Let me see.
God.
Oh yeah,
Got it on her finger.
she does.
It's tiny, tiny, but it's sparkly.
Are
It
you
is.
sure that's not just, there's
It's-
2 of them there.
It may be. It may
Maybe
be
a
just
sequin or
a crystal of some sort. But how mystical!
yeah,
That's right.
Oh, my gosh.
absolutely.
I think it's, what is it? Sparkly stuff?
Glitter.
I think it's glitter.
No, it's if it is, it's the hardest glitter I've ever touched.
You could cut glass with it.
It's a chunk.
Well, can I have it?
A chunklet. I don't think I have a mystical moment.
Yeah, Gail, come to church.
There'd be a diamond on every bench if I did.
Diamonds on the soles of her shoes.
Yeah.
Except, Gail, that really gave me a weird image. Oh, Lord. Wherever Gail sits down, she just leaves a little diamonds galore.
I should say, I did get a new chair to replace the one that was shedding and getting the little pieces of black on my butt.
Oh, I missed that.
Why, Margie?
yeah.
Why must you at this last moment? Why, oh, why at the last moment? And remember, be the flame.
Not
the moth.